Hi, I'm Kelly Chester. Welcome to the application workshop. Here are the top 4 things my juniors do spring semester of junior year to prep for college admissions. Don't forget to subscribe after the video. Today I want to go over the junior timeline with you all. We're in the middle of January. Students are just receiving mid-year grades and taking midterms, whether that be at home or remotely. And this is a really good time to check in to kind of assess your academic strengths and your academic weaknesses. There's still time to bring up grades before the end of junior year, which is why it's so important to really take a hard look at your achievement throughout sophomore year, but also through the first half of junior year. If necessary, seek out support to help bring up grades in classes that you find challenging or that you're struggling in. You can do so by not only hiring a tutor, but that might not be an option for everyone. You can also utilize Khan Academy, which has many wonderful free resources, or ask your teacher for extra help. Do whatever's necessary to seek out support so that you can bring up your grades and positively impact your overall GPA. That's one of the main focuses I emphasize as we kind of look at grades in the middle of junior year. In addition, many students are creating testing plans. They're planning on either taking the SAT or the ACT. They no longer need to worry about subject tests, which is a relief for rising seniors across the country, in addition to freshmen and sophomores. So now they're solely focusing on their ACT and or their SAT. Many students are taking the SAT this March. They're also trying to take the ACT this February in states where it's safe. And I highly recommend that if you're still trying to figure out which exam is a better fit, that you take practice versions of both exams. See which exam you prefer, which exam you're more comfortable taking, and which exam you do better on. Typically, students prefer one exam over the other, and then they focus their energy and attention to prepping for either the ACT or SAT. Once we have those scores, end of March, April, that's when I sit down with my clients and we really begin to create a school list. Now, the school list should have 3 tiers. You want to have reach schools, match schools, and safety schools. A reach school is a school that is competitive. The SAT or ACT average is above your achievement in the SAT or ACT, and the acceptance rate is low, typically less than 20% for most students. Those schools become reach schools. Match schools are schools that you're fairly certain you'll be admitted into. In other words, your grades, your GPA, your SAT and your ACT scores are right where they need to be in regards to the average of the SAT scores and the transcript grades of the average accepted students and the students who are on campus at those particular schools. Finally, you have the safety schools. The safety schools are schools where you are actually achieving higher grades and higher test scores than the average admitted student at those particular schools. We choose a 3-tiered list, or we develop a 3-tiered list so that students have options. The match schools are likely schools that you'll be admitted to. Safety schools you should ideally definitely be admitted into. Reach schools, it's less likely, but I always encourage students to have those reach schools because you just never know what's going to happen in a given year. In addition, something to bear in mind when creating this initial list is that if you have a school, a college that's particularly popular in your geographic area, the acceptance rate might be skewed a little bit based on the popularity in your high school because you're competing with your peers to be admitted into that school. I'll use Villanova as an example. In my own town in Garden City, New York, Villanova is by far one of the most popular schools in this district that students choose to apply to, making it much more competitive than it actually is for the nation, right? So those acceptance rates for Villanova, which are usually high 20s, low 30s, actually declined sharply for students in this area because so many apply to that school, and Villanova isn't going to admit every student who applies from one town. So it becomes more competitive. So look at that information too as you begin to craft your school lists. If there's a school that's very popular in your area, even though it should be a match school, it might inch up to the reach school section of your college list. Now, that first list, that first draft, think of it as a living, breathing thing that will shift and change and evolve over the course of your admission season. The reason being is so many juniors think they like a school and then they either step foot on campus or attend a Zoom session or meet some students and realize that the school is completely not for them. And then we remove that school and perhaps replace it with something else. Some students think they want to be in an urban location and then they realize this isn't for me, I want a more traditional college campus that's smaller, and they shift gears and the whole list evolves and is revised. The school list is also revised based on achievement by the end of junior year and additional SAT or ACT exams. So the first draft of the list is created in the spring, but know that it will continue to change as you move forward and take more exams and achieve certain grades. That's pretty much what my juniors are focusing on right now. Academic achievement, testing plans, and creating that initial school list. Finally, another area that I do spend time speaking about with my clients is the activity list or the resume or extracurricular section of the Common Application. You want to make sure that even with everything going on, you find creative ways to be devoted to activities that correlate with your interests and or talents. Schools want to see a thread carried through the activity section of your Common Application or your resume. If you're devoted or committed to an activity in 9th grade, ideally you'll stay with it through high school and achieve certain leadership positions within those school clubs by the time you hit junior or senior year. You also want to make sure that you attempt perhaps to get an internship if you're looking at competitive programs at top schools. And also choose volunteer work that correlates with giving back to your community and any interests you have. So community service, internships, school clubs, and finally employment. I mentioned this in an earlier video. Many students fail to put employment on their Common Application or on their resumes because they think an after-school job doesn't matter. Colleges want to see your after-school job. They want to know what you're doing in your free time, and it's another way to demonstrate that you're hardworking and responsible in a forum other than home and school. So that's what I speak about with my juniors: extracurricular activities, academics, testing plan, and we're making those early school lists right now. And we're getting excited about the process. I will be having junior workshops this spring, this summer, for all of you who may want to join me. Check out my website and please let me know of any questions you may have.